Here we are. We are at the last Monday in August 2023. How are we doing today, Mandy? What's new?
Hi, Amani. Hi, everybody. Happy end of
Yes.
August.
Yes.
And let's see what's new. Well, as you all know, I've had the summer cold that we've named Glenn. And I went
Mhm.
back to the doctor this morning, and she reassured me that this little annoying dry cough that I have should be going away by September or so. And I got a pneumonia shot today. I got a little pneumonia prevention. Yeah, so
Okay. Now,
that's what's new in my world.
before we keep going, we want to remind everyone to make sure you follow our new pages on Instagram, Adventures in Business Live on Instagram. It's on the ticker. And also follow our LinkedIn page, also, which is Adventures in Business Live.
Yes.
So you'll see it going across. Follow those new pages. Make sure you share it with your friends and colleagues so we can get our followings up there. We're working. We're working. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean, stop
Okay.
what you're doing. Like everybody, stop
Yeah.
what you're doing right now and
Yes. I
follow
mean,
both pages because right
yes.
now we do our show live from my LinkedIn page. But
Mhm.
when we get the right amount of followers, then we'll be able to do it live from our official Adventures in Business live page. So help
Yes.
us get there so we can go live from that fancy page. We're really excited about it.
All right. Yes, we
Yeah.
are excited. And that's a good segue because today we're talking all things LinkedIn. And I want you, and Dean, I see you in the chat. So good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions at all about LinkedIn, you're going to love our guest, Leanne Calderwood. And I remember I first saw Leanne in action. She was speaking at WEC in San Francisco. And I was there in the audience and she was answering all the questions. And I was like, ooh, I got to write this down. Oh, I got to write this down. And she did a phenomenal job. Then I saw her again this past, were we? We're in Cancun in June, I think. And so just awesome work. So we're going to bring her to the stage. So we're going to bring Leanne to the stage and welcome Leanne to our show. Round of
Well,
applause.
welcome,
Yeah.
Leanne. It's so good to see you. Thanks for being here.
So good to
Yes.
see you guys. I love celebrating Mondays, and it sounds like you guys celebrate Mondays the way I do. So, yay for Mondays!
Yay for
Yay
Monday.
for Mondays.
Mhm.
Let's see here. I'm curious though. We always start off with some fun questions. And so, what inspired you to major in physical education in college?
Oh gosh, right? Like, I think like most of us, we're not using the degree we actually got, way
True.
back in the 90s and early 2000s. But yeah, I mean, I was an athlete growing up. I played competitive volleyball. In fact, I just retired from competitive volleyball about 3 or 4 years ago. Anyway, so sports was all I knew as a kid, and so I thought I'd go into phys ed. It'd be so fun, right? Like I could do 4 years of playing sports in university. And then I came out of university and I was like, oh, that's great. Now what do I do? I have this awesome, fun degree and absolutely no job prospects. So that's what made me decide to do it. And now that's how I coach my kids. Yeah, it's not all about fun and games when you get to university. Actually, have to find something with some career potential. So anyways, I never use my degree anymore, but it is a degree nonetheless, and I had a great time in university. And fast forward, literally 30 years later, here we are.
30
I
years later. Mandy, you want to ask? 'Cause I have
Congratulations.
a follow up,
Yeah.
but I have a follow up. But you want to ask? Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to follow up on your retirement from competitive volleyball. Like, how does that work? Like, as an adult, how does that work? Do you just one day just hang up the shoes? Was there a ceremony? Like, how did that work for
Yeah.
you?
Well, that's the thing is what's the word that you use when you exit something? And all the
Right.
athletes use the word retire, whether they're
Yeah.
16 years old or they're 60 years old. And so I played competitive ball right up until I guess I was about 47 years old. And so yeah, I retired at 47. And I'll be honest, Mandy, it was a little bit like that. It was every time I jumped, I peed my pants a little bit more.
Oh,
And every
I get
time
it.
yeah, and every time I hit the floor to dig up a ball, it took me a little bit longer to get up, and it was like, "Yeah, I think we're done here."
A couple extra grunts, and then you iced a little more stretching and a little more icing. I hear you.
Yeah,
I,
very quickly.
I did
So
that with I played flag football for a long time in a co-ed league, But I knew it was time to retire when the team on the other side was so much younger than me. When they would hand me the ball, they would be like, "Here you go, ma'am." And I was like, "All right, it's time." And the other team were
Rude.
drinking, and we would show up hours early to stretch. Like, I'm like, "It's
Yes.
time." But I
Rude.
understand. I understand. Yeah, it
Yeah.
comes to time. Have you filled your space with anything? Have you filled that void in any way?
Oh, I thank you for asking that. So for 4 years I didn't, and then it was COVID, and so that everyone lost that ability to do their passion during COVID. But then coming out of COVID, now my son plays volleyball. So I had the
Mm.
great opportunity to be able to coach him last year. And so that was a lot of fun, is watching these young people pick up the sport.
Mhm.
And the sports changed so much since when I was in high school. So even just the drills we were running the kids through were different than the drills that I did back in the day. So that was a lot of fun. I'm not sure if I'll do it again this fall. I'm quite busy work wise, but it was
Mhm.
so nice to have that time with my son,
Aw.
who now gets it, right? When I was starting to coach him, from the sidelines, he'd roll his eyes, but then as a literal coach, there was a little bit more respect there. It's like, oh yeah, my mom actually knows what's going on here.
Yeah. She's
So
actually a
Yes.
it's
smart
pretty
lady.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
pretty cool.
I love it. All right,
Yeah.
Amani. I'm sorry. I had to jump in. I heard
Okay.
that volleyball. I had to get in there. Okay. Floor's
We
yours.
have Jenny. Jenny's in the chat with us. So good to see you, a former guest. Thank you for your advice. Jenny was helping me with some protein bar potential options. Um, well, I think maybe now we just have so many questions about LinkedIn. So maybe we can first start off like, why are you so passionate about the platform when there's so many other kind of shinier objects like a TikTok, Instagram? What is it about LinkedIn that has you so passionate and knowledgeable about it?
Yeah, well, it is a great question because it's one that I ask myself every season as well, Amani. I picked up LinkedIn, or rather, I returned to LinkedIn when I needed to find a different way to grow my B2B business. So that was way back in like 2008, 2009, 10, where I needed to find clients and I needed to connect with people in the meetings and events space. And LinkedIn was the obvious choice to do that. Now, you could say I could do that on Facebook or Instagram at the time. Those were the platforms du jour. But LinkedIn also spoke more to my personality. At that time, I wasn't willing to lay out all my cards on the table and show
Mhm.
people what I was eating for dinner on my patio, right? That's what we used to do back on Facebook, in 2010. And so LinkedIn was a place where I could still put on my professional face and show up for clients and try to find people to work with. And fast forward, it ended up working, right? It ended up growing my business. And then I just started to learn a little bit more about the platform. The platform also changed during that time. So I was just fascinated with how it feeds the B2B community, because it isn't all about patio dinners. It's really about thought leadership. And for my personality type, that fit just so much better than the Instagrammable moments that I just couldn't capture great enough on my phone.
Yeah, yeah. Can you share an example, maybe one of your favorite examples of how LinkedIn helped you grow your business?
Yeah, well, so back in the day, I was I did a lot of tips and resources for meeting planning clients. And so that's what drew clients to me, is rather than prospect their business and do that sales pitch, it was about the top 10 things you can do with your catering menus, and the top 5 questions you should ask your AV provider. And so I started to attract clients through that almost inbound marketing and social selling strategy. And that's kind of how I grew my business. Now, the kinds of tips and resources I give are different, and it's very meta because my tips and resources are about LinkedIn on LinkedIn.
Mm.
But it's still a way to more attract business versus those hard sell marketing messages that we're all used to seeing or all used to doing back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, you talk a lot about, first of all, if you're not following Leanne, you have to. Her page is a plethora of information, but you talk a lot about standing out and shining bright. And what are some things that people are doing right now that they are standing out and they are shining bright? And then I'm going to ask you, what are some things people are doing that they're dulling their light? So on both sides, I think we want to hear the goods and the
Yeah.
bads of your LinkedIn experience.
Well, and I don't want to bore anyone, but it really goes back to LinkedIn's history. So LinkedIn started in 2003. And when it started, it really was the online platform for our resumes, right? So we all copy and pasted our paper resume and we uploaded it to the LinkedIn profile. And that was really the initial intent, was to match job seekers with job recruiters. But then it changed, right? Then we saw this shift, and that shift kind of coincided when Microsoft purchased the platform in 2016 into this isn't just about the job you're looking for, it's about the job you have now and the thought leadership that you can build now. And so with that shift, our platform, our profiles also changed. And it no longer became about our online resume. And to your point, Mandy, when you ask how are people dulling their light, I think it's because they still have, or they still view their profile as a resume versus a representation of their personal brand and their thought leadership. And the people who are doing it well have changed the messaging in their profile. It's not no longer about what it is we do, but it is about who we serve and how we serve them.
I know what you mean though, because that makes me crazy when I'll ask people, "Are you on LinkedIn?" They're like, "Oh, I'm not looking for a job right now," and
Yeah.
it's such a lost moment where it's a great conversation, right? To be like, "Oh, LinkedIn's changed. It's a great
Mhm.
place to learn something or to give education to people or just to interact with your prospects." But it does make me a little crazy when people still have that mindset that it is just all about, getting a resume building kind of thing.
And I think all the platforms have kind of changed a little bit in
Yeah.
that way, Mandy. So even on Facebook, you're seeing a lot more B2B content on Facebook. And now, even on LinkedIn, you're seeing more B2C content. So for those who argue, well, I'm not in a B2B environment, well, your clients are probably in B2B. And so LinkedIn might be a great place to connect with them, even though your product is different than a B2B product. So,
Mhm.
the lines have blurred across all of the platforms, TikTok included. But it's also blurred on LinkedIn. And I hope that people just give it a second chance and kind of dive into what it's all about. Because you're right, Mandy, it's not just about getting a job. It's actually a professional development tool in and of itself. And then, of course, you can build your business, find more clients, grow your brand as you and Amani do on the platform. There's so many things you can do with LinkedIn now.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of growing your brand on LinkedIn, what are some hidden features that many people discount, but you feel we should be taking better advantage of on the platform?
Yes, well, my top five always have to include that background photo. And it's because we're drawn to images versus text, which is why live video shows like this do so well, is people want to see and experience it that way. And so our background photo is a great opportunity to communicate a story in picture form. And then for those who work for a larger organization, some of your organizations have great background photos, but if you have the creative license to create your own, that's the first impression that people are going to have when they land on the profile. They're going to look at your background photo and they're going to look at your picture, and people instantly make a decision about if they can know you or like you or trust you based on just those two visual images. But then if we go a little bit further, that headline, that's kind of like that tagline that sits right below your name on LinkedIn. There's a lot of real estate there to also tell a story, but in short form. And so I think a lot of people are still using the days of old where it's your job title, but when you have so much real estate to really dial into your ideal audience and some of the things that they're looking for, some of the keywords that they are looking for, then you have the opportunity to attract them further into your profile. And then it just goes on from there, Amani. There's so many great things that you can do below those two pieces. But those are the top two pieces, in my opinion.
Interesting. So, Manny, you want to ask your question because maybe we can do a little field trip. What if I showed you my profile and you could kind of live critique and say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Just because the background photo, people discount that so quickly. And I'm really curious to see what you think.
I
Love
like
it.
that field trip. Do
Yeah.
that. Do
Okay, so hold
that.
on. I'm gonna share the screen. I'm gonna share the screen with okay. I'll share it here so you could see it in the box on within the Ping app. I'm gonna share my screen. So you see my screen in the Ping app, and you can actually hit the
Uh-huh.
little dot. You can hit the little cross thing and make it bigger if you like
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
now on screen, so let's look here. Okay, so people can see it here. They can see it live also. So if you see, that's my profile there. Let me see if I
Amani,
can.
did you just recently, like in the last 10 seconds, change your background? Did you just do this?
No, it's been
No?
this way, but I have a question. It's been this way, but there's a question I have. We'll make it bigger here. Hold on screen. Like, so that's the background photo, but I left some part blank because I had a question. And so
Oh,
you see,
okay.
so first give me your thoughts on the what you see so far.
Okay, so without a doubt, absolutely, I know what it is that you do. Right? It's not a job title, but you actually, the action words is you are a DJ. You spin the tunes, whatever the cool kids call it. And so you've kept a really strategic picture of that in your background photo, which is brilliant. And then, of course, your headline, you've got those keywords and you've created clarity with words like DJ, MC, author, professional speaker. But then, folks, if you look at it, what he's done is, again, because you've got so much real estate here, he's gone on to include some other really great keywords like music and business and creating memories through the written word. Like these are things that people could potentially be searching using LinkedIn search bar, and Amani's going to pop up in some of those search results. So that's what I really like about it, Amani. And then one of my social selling friends, his name is Roy, he loves talking about the credibility piece. And what you've included here is a lot of your credibility as well. That Forbes, shout out, the Biz Bash 500 shout out. Those all speak to your credibility. You're not just some fly by night DJ who's doing this out of a mom and pop shop, right? And out of a
Right.
garage, down some back alley. Like you've actually have some street cred given your art, Amani. So I think you've done a really great job of those first two pieces. But you said you had a question for me. I'm dying to
Yes.
know what it is.
Okay, so if you see above my picture, I just have my little caricature, my little
Yeah.
cartoon, but what could I put there to further enhance my profile?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I don't think you need the caricature because you've got
Okay.
the live visual picture. But what I do like, Amani, is that there is blank space here because as you can see, your profile picture kind of sits on top of
Right.
potential text. And so you've architectured this quite well. What you may find on mobile is your picture is going to drift a little bit to the right, and it might cover up a little bit of your image there. The
Mhm.
probably the word soul train and whatever's written below the soul train, which is a bit small, I have to be honest. I can't quite read it, but that might get covered by your profile picture. As for what you could fill in the top left-hand corner, maybe that's where you move a couple of these logos that you have on the right hand side, or maybe you just put your hashtag. What I think your hashtag's Amani Experience. That could be a really
Right.
great addition to your top right or top left. Sorry.
Awesome. Okay. That was good. Manny, did you want to pull yours up or do you want to go back to
We can pull mine if we want, but I do have some questions about LinkedIn. I have some more questions about, well, Amani, this is really actually, let's leave your page up because
Okay. Okay.
Amani and I, and you, Leanne, so many of us do so many different things, right?
Mhm.
We hustle. There's no more side hustle. It's just all awesome hustle. So
Mhm.
what advice do you have for the LinkedIn profile of that entrepreneur that runs multiple businesses and maybe those multiple businesses aren't synced up with each other. They're just different revenue streams in different industries. What advice do you have for
Yeah.
people with those types of LinkedIn pages?
Great
Well,
question.
so so this is kind of a two-part answer because the first one being unless we can define a niche, and a niche doesn't even necessarily have to be an audience. It can be a product or service. And in this case, Amani's niche is that he provides DJ and MC and speaking services. If if Amani was to dilute that with other services and try to communicate that through his LinkedIn profile, he's going to create confusion and people are going to get lost as to what Amani means to them. Because we all need to kind of like put people in boxes. This is just how the human brain works, is we have people in boxes, right? My hotel sales managers, they're in the hotel sales box. My meeting planner clients, they're in this box. And so when we're sorting through people, especially when we looked at the LinkedIn profiles, we don't know where to put them if there's too many things going on. And now going back to the profile itself, if we want to create clarity, the two pieces of real estate that really need to play well with each other are the ones that I've already mentioned, that background photo and that headline. If there's a disconnect between those two assets, people are going to tap out. We're burning way too many of their brain cells to get them to figure out what it is that we do. Now, if we do have multiple products and services, though, and we do want to communicate that, that's where the about section can kick in. And we can start to outline either all of our products and services or outline all of the audiences that we work with, etc., because you have a lot more real estate to do it there. But if we're really trying to cut through the clutter and create that clarity, and Amani's a good example, this is how you do it. Amani could do a number of different other things, but he's created clarity around here, and that's where he's going to grow and thrive.
I love that. It's funny. The about section, I do think is an underutilized, and I know I need to work on mine more. Amani, I love your bullet points in your about section. So that's super helpful. Okay. Now moving on. Now this isn't about your page, Amani. I'm sorry. We're going to move on.
Okay.
Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Don't get mad at me. Okay. So, I've read and I've heard you speak a lot about posts versus being in groups versus engaging in comments. And obviously all three are really important to build thought leadership and to get customers or retain customers. Can you just talk about the value of participating in all three of those on LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, thank you. That's a great question because it goes back to that thought leadership piece. And those three things are really the three best vehicles to build one's thought leadership. Obviously, creating your own native content is a great way to build your credibility, show your expertise, show the things that you're good at. But when you comment on other people's content, it also shows that you are an engager and a contributor as a whole. It also helps put you on the radar of the people who are also engaging in that post, be it the author himself or herself themselves, or the other people that have commented and engaged with reactions, etc. So the commenting strategy is one that it's so important to be strategic about it, because the mindless commenting is fantastic if that's kind of your goal and your aim. But if you're trying to get on the radar of someone, being strategic about where you comment and how you kind of insert your thought leadership in those comments is such a powerful strategy. Now, groups, man, love them or hate them, they're still around. So we need to pay attention. I would love it if LinkedIn just said one day, hey, we're canceling groups. And no one's going to miss them. There's very few groups that are super engaged. But having said that, there are some that are. And in the meetings and event space, there are a couple that people are on there every day commenting or creating content. So it's a great way to meet your other audience members that you normally wouldn't have met anywhere else, like at networking events. I find the LinkedIn groups that I'm a part of, I'm meeting people from all over the world in those groups. People that would never see me in the home feed because they're not connected to me, or et cetera. So they all have their pros and cons. And that's why I like to encourage a mix of all three, is because they all serve a different purpose.
Awesome. Love that. Great advice.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts on two aspects of audio on LinkedIn? The audio events, and then also when you're sending people messages, you can actually leave voice notes as messages, which is a pretty hidden. People don't really know about that or use it, What are your thoughts on those? Ah, look, I see you getting
Yes.
excited there.
Yeah.
She's
So,
clapping
well,
her hands together, everybody, for those listening. She's
yeah.
rubbing her hands together with happiness. Yeah.
Well, and so now you're really spilling all the secrets, Amani, which is awesome. So, yeah, in your LinkedIn DMs, your direct messaging, you have the ability to send audio notes and video notes if you want, but it can only be done through your phone, right? You can't do it
Yes.
on your desktop. So you need to be a LinkedIn mobile user, and then you can send an audio note or a video note. From what I understand, the audio notes can only be a minute in length. So if you're a long talker, you got to learn how to shorten up your messages. And if I think videos, you can send up to 2 minute video message or note, and
Yeah.
that'll set you apart as well, right? Especially for people, especially if you're trying to reach people who have large followings or large connection bases. Their DMs probably get clogged up really quickly. So your video or your audio note is really going to stand out in a sea of sameness of all the people sending little notes here and there trying to get that person's attention. So stick one in your back pocket, especially if you're trying to reach someone who has larger followings. As for LinkedIn audio, so do you guys do LinkedIn audio at all? Like, do you ever turn this show into an audio show or anything like that?
Well, it's a podcast. We convert it. It's distributed by Apple and Spotify and iHeartRadio, but not. It's only visual on LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's an event, live event on LinkedIn. Yeah, and
Okay.
then the replay too. Yeah.
So the LinkedIn audio event does work differently. And for those of you who used to play in Clubhouse, which I'm not even sure it's an app anymore.
I'm there.
Um,
I love Clubhouse.
yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
love
Mhm.
Clubhouse. That's where I
Yeah.
got my start with audio events was Clubhouse. Green Room is also another platform. So
Hmm.
anyways, LinkedIn decided to create LinkedIn Audio about a year after Clubhouse really took off. It's now fully out of beta mode, and while it has a couple limitations, it's really great to have these audio conversations because it also invites people to contribute. So if we were doing this in an audio room right now, there could be people who are putting up their hand and they can actually ask their question. As
Mm.
opposed to right now, they write down their question in the chat and then Amani, sends it off to you or me, Mandy. And that's what I love about the audio rooms is for those who are playing with the idea of growing their personal brand and growing their communication skills, jumping into audio rooms and becoming part of the stage in that audio room is a great place to start. It's low commitment, low, interaction, but enough to get a taste of what it's like to be in a room with other thought leaders and kind of share that banter back and forth. So I love audio rooms for that. But again, be selective on the rooms that you attend because it can get overwhelming and time consuming.
Yeah, we have a Clubhouse room on Fridays at 10 a.m. called Digital Hospitality,
Okay.
and I love that room. And it's funny when this was 2 or 3 years ago when I was right before my book came out. Clubhouse really did like Leanne said, it is a great spot to research and listen to the answers. It's also a great spot to raise your hand and ask some questions. There's no video. You can have it on in the background while you're working. There's no trolls to comment and make you feel bad. Like I do think you just said something that I think is really true, whether it's LinkedIn audio or Clubhouse or Green Room, it is good to dip your toe under the water there if you're starting something new. So,
Mhm.
I want to go back to the DMs for a second because you were quoted saying, use DMs to nurture a relationship and not sell. And I'm one of those people you're talking about. I am constantly getting pitch slapped in my DMs. It is just like people that they couldn't have read my profile. They're like, "Have you ever thought about writing a book?" I'm like, "I did write a book, buddy." But so like, can you expand on how people can shine brighter and have more compelling messages in their DMs of their prospects instead of just making people feel they've been pitch slapped?
Yes, well, and this is all tying together, Mandy, because the LinkedIn audio room I do is on Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific with my friend Roy, and it's all about social selling. And we talk about this all
Ooh.
the time in this room is that LinkedIn is not the place to sell. LinkedIn is the place to further the relationship, get people on the path to purchase. But as soon as somebody wants to do business, you need to pull it off of the LinkedIn DMs and put it in your emails or that telephone call or that Zoom meeting, and you start from there. So the DMs is not the place where we should be getting these pitches, Mandy, but we do all
Yeah.
the time. And like you, like me, like Amani, we're hitting delete or we're ignoring them. They're not effective in the least. Now, for the people doing it, maybe their sales strategy is we're going to shoot fish in a barrel and see what we hit, and
Yeah.
that's good enough for us. But for those of us who are looking to build a business based on integrity and based on relationships, that's not how you do it is in the LinkedIn DMs. You're pulling it out of the DMs. So if anyone asks me about my services as a LinkedIn trainer, my first question back is, I'd love to send you some information. Would email work for you? And then we move it over to email and we continue the business part of our relationship over there and not no longer in the DMs. So yeah, listen, we're trying to break down the pitches, one pitch slapper at a time, Mandy, but there's a lot out there. So be patient with us as we work through them all.
I love it. I just put your room in my calendar. So 1:00 on Fridays. So if people want to join your LinkedIn audio room on Friday, can you tell everybody how to do it? Because I love that kind of stuff, and I'm going to come this Friday for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to point you in the direction then of my co-host because he's the one that organizes the room. His name is Roy Kowarski, Kowarski, Roy Kowarski. So it's him and I, another Canadian woman. And Roy's in Australia. So it's 2 Australian chaps and then 2 of us LinkedIn ladies here in Canada. It's the most wonky partnership you could ever imagine. But we have such a good time and it's such a great room. And yeah, I love it. It's Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific.
Love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. I put the link to his profile in the chat. When we're looking at ways to improve LinkedIn, what are your top 3 features, or I'll just say features that you would love for the platform to add that could further just make it a stronger platform?
Well, I think they need to give more reach and engagement to company page posts. Right now, our personal posts get more reach. Like we're upwards of almost 10% of our community kind of gets the initial post. And then depending on how that does, you get more. That's like all social media platform algorithms. But the company page post, we only are hitting 3% of our audience. And so you guys mentioned your Adventures in Business podcast or company page, and people need to follow your company page. But sadly, when you post things via that vehicle versus your personal profile, you will notice that you'll get less reach. So I wish LinkedIn gave the company pages just a bit more reach and a bit more impact and influence. I also wish LinkedIn just spent more time with groups. So putting more notification options so that group activity shows up in our profile, or some kind of notification when people are contributing to your group content. There are some notifications, but it's just not as much as our personal stuff. Again, they seem to focus on the personal stuff, which is great for those of us who have a personal brand. But if we're trying to drive traffic to our company pages and we're trying to get engagement on our LinkedIn group content, they're making it really hard for us to do. The one thing that LinkedIn did just recently, so this, I don't know if this was a call from the community or if they just added it, but one of the features on our LinkedIn personal profiles is the ability to add skills. So Amani, I'm assuming you've got DJing and emceeing as skills under your LinkedIn personal profile. Well, you now can add your top 5 skills to your summary or your about section. So that makes it super easy for people in just like a glance to figure out, okay, Amani's good at these 5 things. It's right here, right at the top of his about section. So if you haven't yet added your skills to your about section, I encourage you to do that, because I think, again, that's creating clarity, it's reducing clutter, and it's burning less brain cells in the mind of the person you want to read your profile, which makes it easier for them to do business with you.
Ooh, I love that. I love that.
Great tips there. Yeah.
I want to talk. Are we good on LinkedIn? Because I want to take a left turn. If that's okay with
Let's
you,
go
Amani.
left.
You ready?
Let's go to the left,
Ready?
to the
We're gonna
left.
turn the boat. We're gonna turn the boat. Okay. I want to talk about digital and or online course creation, because
Ooh.
you have some really interesting topics with your courses. And you clearly have a method behind the madness, and you've probably tripped and fallen and learned a bunch of stuff along the way too. So for people out there that want to create a course, what would you share with them to do that you wish you would have known about before? And is there a platform you use? Can you just talk a little bit about online course creation?
Yeah, I'd love to. And thank you for saying that, Mandy. I don't have all the answers. There's still a lot I'm learning about online course creation marketing and how to sell your courses. But I can tell you the building of assets that become scalable, I think is critical for any entrepreneur. You both have books. Those are scalable assets, right? You can sell 1,000 books. You can sell 1 million books. You still just wrote it once, right? And that's the thing with the digital courses. You create your course and you've created the outcomes for your students to achieve at the end of the course. And now it's getting it in the hands of as many people as you can. I followed some online course creators myself to kind of, learn how to put my course together so that I can deliver on those outcomes. And there are many, many, many teachers out there. My teacher happened to have been Amy Porterfield. So if anyone's interested in digital course creation, I would recommend starting with Amy Porterfield. But there's a lot of others if you find that Amy's just not your personal learning style. And yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot about the outcomes that we're creating that deliver to our clients or to our students. But then it's the marketing. And that's, again, the thing that I'm still learning, Mandy. So we'll have to have a follow-up podcast in like next year to see if we crack the marketing code. But yes, I've created 2 courses now. I have a LinkedIn course. It's kind of like LinkedIn 101, kind of goes over the basics, but gets everyone started on content creation and building their networks. And of course, optimizing their profile. And then I have a course all about creating and amplifying your personal brand, and some of the questions you should ask yourself, and some of the decisions that you should make when you go about creating a brand. So that course, my next cohort for that is coming out in early January.
Awesome. And then when you created the course too, did Amy guide you through, like, here's how many videos you want to do, here's how long it should be, here's what the price point should be? Or did you do a bunch of research on that as well?
Yeah, well, and in Amy's teaching, she does have guidelines, right?
Good.
So if your course is a starter course, there's a price range that you should fall into. Whether or it becomes a signature course, like this is the Mac Daddy of everything that you know. There's a certain price point for that as well. As for the videos, keeping them under 10 minutes is probably ideal because we have short attention spans. And then you just build your course content. The one thing that Amy teaches, and the one thing that I firmly believe in almost all of the things I create, is having a framework, and which is kind of like the roadmap or the GPS. So when people see the journey kind of outlined before they start, they're willing to jump on board and kind of go through the journey. Whereas if they're walking around blindly without a map, without a GPS, you can create more confusion and I'm all about clarity. Even though I'm not being very clear right now, I'm all about clarity and messaging. So having a framework, I think, can help you attract a better audience because it becomes easier to follow. Your teaching becomes easier to follow.
Excellent advice. And shout out to Amy Porterfield.
Amy Porterfield. Yeah, she's very common. I've heard her name many times before.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
With your course, thank you for asking this, man. This is a great left turn.
You're welcome.
With the course,
I won't lead you astray.
You never will. How were you able to market the course, and how has the course changed your business?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I have not used paid advertising yet for my courses, which is probably one of the marketing things that I need to implement in my own marketing strategy, is using paid ads, be it on LinkedIn or Facebook or otherwise. So that's one of the marketing vehicles, is paid advertising. But you can also advertise your course through your LinkedIn profile. You can talk about your course in your email newsletter. So, and that's again one of the things that Amy Porterfield talks about is the strength of your email distribution list can also impact your course sales. So having the right kind of people on your email list, people that you nurture all year long through your content, through your lives like you guys do here, and then talking about your product is one way that you can market. And I'll be honest, Amani, I forget the second part of your question.
How has it changed your business? How has it changed your business?
Yeah, well, so when it does come to a point where I'm able to scale and get significant numbers of students in my courses, it'll change my business financially. But here's what it's done even more so is it's changed my clarity and focus of my business, regardless of who has bought the course. Because going through that course creation process, I learned so much about LinkedIn. I knew a lot about LinkedIn before, but when I actually had to put it on paper and then create a framework and then map it out and put it into video, it's like, wow, there is a lot to know here. And so putting it in a package kind of just solidified all of the things that I knew about the platform or even still needed to learn about the platform. Similarly, with the branding, I created a brand and I went through these decisions in my head, but putting it down on paper and kind of formalizing a map for people to go from, I think this is a tool that needs to be in my toolbox to, okay, this is what people know me for. All of those steps, documenting those steps created a lot of clarity for me. And if I can, I'm going to follow in your guys' footsteps. You know, my plan for the next couple of years is to create a book. And the digital course creation has now armed me with the information I need to write a book about it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Do it, Leanne. Do it. We'll support you. Yeah, everybody
we're
needs
ready
to hear
for the
more of your
book.
voice. Yeah, it's
We're ready
great.
for the. Do you feel that a book is an easy entry to creating a course off a book? Because it seems like both, Mandy and I have books that are very, very successful and on a specific topic. It seemed like it'd be a natural kind of evolution.
So I've seen tons of people do it book and then course, and a lot go course and then book. So because you've already got the one asset in place, I think creating a digital course will be very easy for you. And in the same way, because I have a digital course already on branding, when I turn it into a book, a lot of the legwork has been done. So start with one asset, and I think you can jump to the other one fairly easily.
Interesting. Okay. So we're a little early for this question, but I wanted to get, well, hold on here. I'll ask this question. Now you have professional speaking. How has that been able to add to your business, and what are your goals with your professional speaking career?
Wow, you really want me to spill the tea. So I started professionally speaking, and this actually goes back to the digital courses. I created these courses, and then I started getting questions about, oh, your course looks great, but I'm wondering if you can speak to my small team. And it's like, yeah, I guess I can. Or your course looks great. Can you talk about what's inside the course in a breakout session or on the main stage? It's like, okay, I guess I am now. So the professional speaking actually came as a result of people just wanting to learn content differently. Not everyone wants to learn via a digital course. They want to learn in other avenues. And so that's when I started speaking, Amani, and I quite enjoy it. And I'm still learning the art of professional speaking. But I feel that I'm doing okay. And so I'm going to continue speaking into 2024. And then again, my hope would be as I publish my book that the conversation turns to what my book is going to be about, which, yes, it's going to be about LinkedIn and branding, but not just LinkedIn and branding. So I'm hoping the conversation will turn. But I love professionally speaking. I think it's a great way as an introvert to have those conversations. And I think that's what people don't realize about me is I am an introvert, but professional speaking has given me an opportunity to share my message and talk to more people, people that I wouldn't probably approach in a reception room or in a large banquet room.
Yeah, exactly. Now we are to the time of the show where we kind of flip the script and let you ask myself and Mandy a question, and you can ask us any question you want. Pick who's going first, and let's hear what you got for us.
Okay, so Mandy, my question for you, because you have a book written and you're now embarking on what that post book journey looks like. What are the biggest challenges you're running up against as you develop and continue to develop your own personal brand?
Ooh, I think well, first of all, writing the book, delivering the book, that whole experience was spectacular. And I will write and launch books for the rest of my life. It's like it's like a little addictive, little dopamine. So I want everybody, when you said you're writing a book, I instantly got tingly for you. I just think everybody should do it because it's such a great experience.
Mhm.
I think my challenges from a personal brand standpoint are that I do so many things because I want to do so many things. I have so many passions, right? So, I work with HPN Global and I find hotels and meetings for people all over the world. I negotiate contracts. I love that. I am also a public speaker and I'm a sales coach and I love being in rooms of people rolling up my sleeves, solving like live sales problems. And I am an author. So I think my challenge as a personal brand is um, they all three of those actually do intersect with each other in the right way. But I have people that know me as an author and they don't even know I have this whole other comfort side that I've been doing for 25 years, right? Or all my meeting planning clients know me as a shrewd negotiator and an awesome, scout of hotels, but they also don't know that I could be a fantastic speaker for their conference. So I think my personal branding challenge is to continue to remind everybody that I do all these things and that I'm not just doing one or the other. Like I am doing all these things and I love doing all these things and they
Mhm.
can intersect. I think that's why I asked the question earlier because I think we all sort of do that, and I think there is a challenge in there.
Well, and
And
I
you do
think
other
you
things
and I,
well too.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you, Money.
And I think you and I need to talk more about this because it sounds like our paths have been quite similar, right?
Hmm.
So we'll have to put that one in our back pocket for when we meet in person, Mandy, because I think you and I have a lot in common when it comes to our career journey and where we see it going over the next couple years.
Yeah.
My question for you, Amani, is I have seen you live and in person in a number of your skills and strengths. I've seen you actually mesh the two at one point where you did some DJing within one of your presentations. What is it that you love to do the most? Because you have skill and talent in a number of different communication styles.
That's a good question. So, what do I love to do the most? I would say probably at the top, number one would be like interviews, interviewing people. I think you saw me when I was at WEC Cancun interviewing people before they would do their general sessions. I love to interview people. That's one of my loves, and I do very well at it. I've been doing it for years. So that's probably one. And then 1A would be like DJing events and things like that. But really, it's bringing the DJ thing into like, I think you witnessed when I did the session with Courtney when we were on stage together and I was DJing and doing that. Like that is like where I want to be. And that way I can combine both DJing and speaking and everything. That's kind of my North Star right now. And I think that I can do well at it. It's just getting the opportunities.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Isn't that the case, right? Like just we just need someone to say yes and we're ready
Right.
to shine. So yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think you're doing an amazing job. I thought you did a great job in Cancun. And I'm sure I'm going to see a lot more of you on the stages to come. So be encouraged, my friend. You're doing a great job, and I
Aw.
kind of love that twist you bring to your style. I haven't seen anyone else with that twist, which makes you very unique.
Good. Awesome.
Amani,
Thank
the Amani twist. I love
The
it.
Amani
Yeah.
experience,
The Amani
right?
twist.
The
You have to do
Amani
like a
Yeah.
experience.
like a move with it. The
Yeah.
Amani
Yeah.
twist.
I'll think of the move. I'll get back to you on the move.
Okay, okay, okay. Post it. Post the video on LinkedIn
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yes.
will. I
of your
promise.
move.
I
Of your move.
promise. Now, if we were going to go back and talk to Leanne right as you were finishing university and
Uh,
give her advice based on everything that you've been through and you've learned so far in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
uh, I think I would tell them what I'm telling my sons right now, and don't put yourself in a box. Explore the other things that you could potentially bring to the table. Explore all of your passions and talents before you saddle down to one career that you're going to have what you think is for the rest of your life. Yeah, I think as humans, we put ourselves and others into these boxes, and it would be nice if we just didn't. And we kind of looked at the person as a whole and all of the things that they bring to the table.
Mm,
Amazing. Great answer.
So that's
Mandy,
profound or
what
not, but I think that's what I would say.
plenty profound.
profound.
Kind of like your final question before I ask the ultimate
Well,
last.
I want to ask about tea because I love tea and you love tea. So I want to know what's your favorite brand of tea and what's your favorite flavor, and do you have a tea ritual throughout the day? I just literally want to talk tea.
Sure. So, well, I decided to use tea as one of my brand pillars because I found we weren't talking about tea. People love talking about coffee and how they get their morning fix, but not enough people were talking about the tea and I don't know, I guess just the calm that I get from tea. So, my favorite brand is, it's a Canadian company called David's Tea, but I do think they're in the US. So, I buy a lot of tea from David's Tea. And then my favorite kind of tea, which ironically isn't from David's, is I drink a lot of Earl Grey. So if there's ever a tea store in my journeys, I'm typically taking their house-made, homemade Earl Grey blend home so that I can try it. And my tea ritual, Mandy, is, I drink it. It's all I do. I probably put away 80 to 100 ounces of tea a day. I very rarely drink. Well, unless it's wine o'clock. I very rarely drink anything else during the day. It is tea from when I wake up in the morning until I pour the wine in my glass at dinner time. So
I like it.
Before bed too. So I do drink an insane and copious amount of tea.
I love tea too. I switched over to tea when I stopped drinking caffeine, and I still have a decaf latte every now and again. But there is something that just slows you down about it, and just smelling it. And some of the tea bags have the little quotes on them, little inspirational quotes, right? So it's a little secret society that I think more people should join. I think it's good to slow down with tea.
Agreed. Yeah, I love it. So thank you for asking about tea.
Yes. And Davidson's the brand, you said. Is that right? David's
tea.
Yeah, David's
okay.
tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clocked and noted. Purchased later today. Thank you.
There you go. My final question for you, Leanne, is just I always curious to ask guests this, like, what's the best advice that you've ever received?
Oh, wow. I've received a lot of great advice over the years. Gosh. Well, I think one of the things I have learned, and probably people gave me this piece of advice ad nauseum, is just to be gracious to ourselves and forgive ourselves when we're not meeting our own levels of expectations. I think, especially in our industry, we're in an industry of perfectionists. And we have a hard time when we don't meet that level of perfectionism. And if you're looking at LinkedIn, we have a hard time forgiving ourselves if we go a week or two without posting something. We think we're failing, or we're missing the mark, or the opportunities are lost. And just extending ourselves that grace and forgiveness to say, hey, you know what? Tomorrow's another day. We can get back on this horse, and we can get back to creating consistent content or doing whatever it is we need to do. But the world is hard enough on us. We don't need to be hard on ourselves as well.
Amen.
That's great advice. We're all such self-graders.
Yeah.
It's just good advice and a good reminder. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you also for being just a tremendous resource and guest for us today, and continuing to kind of really encourage all the people to get on LinkedIn, but engage in it properly. So we appreciate that. And please continue to spread the word on Wilkforce. Let us know when courses are created, books are written. We'll be here to support you. And we can't wait to work with you more in the future and see you out there speaking and at conferences with us.
Thank you for the opportunity, you guys. I've loved every minute. And I do hope to run into you guys again, because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. PCMA. Will you be at PCMA in San Diego in January?
I hope so.
Okay, good. Okay, good. We'll see you there.
Yeah.
We'll see you there for sure.
Okay.
So we're going to put you back in the green room really quickly, and we'll close the show. So hold on for a minute here. We'll round of applause for Leanne in the chat and everything. So yes, there we go. All right, Mandy. So another phenomenal show. Next week we're off for Labor Day. What any exciting plans? What you got going on?
I have, because Glenn took over my birthday month, so I had all these plans. So now I've got the rescheduled plans. So Friday I have dinner with some girlfriends, and Saturday my husband is planning Scooter, who you know now,
Mhm.
is planning some sort of birthday celebration for me that we were supposed to do last month and we couldn't. It's a surprise. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
What about you? You're going away. You're taking a little
Yes.
trip
Just taking a little
away.
trip to Vegas, visit some friends in Vegas for a couple days, and then come back and relax because school just started, so I got to kind of
Mhm.
keep pace with the grading and the assignments. But yeah, it should be a pretty low key weekend.
Awesome. And I'm excited we're taking Monday off and I hope everybody out
Yes.
there that's listening, it's so easy for all of us to get wrapped up in work and let that be what fills our cup. But I think weekends like Labor Day is a great reminder of filling our cup with stuff that makes us joyous and keeps our souls happy. And we don't have to work. You don't have to always work. Just
Yeah.
fill it with stuff that gives you joy. So I think
Yes.
like Labor Day is a great time to do that.
Take some time. Don't forget to follow our pages on Instagram, Adventures in Business Live, and LinkedIn. Follow those pages. We'll be back here at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. East in 2 weeks. And everyone just have a safe week, a safe holiday, and we will see you all soon.
We
Bye,
will see you
everyone.
soon. Bye. Thanks for coming. See you soon.